All right, let's kick things off with a question. And on the surface, it sounds, super simple, but trust me, the answer is anything but.
So how does a pencil get made? And I'm not just talking about, wood and graphite. I mean the whole shebang, the entire process from start to finish. And here's the kicker, the really wild part. It turns out no single person on Earth actually knows how to make one.
The journey begins, let's say, in Oregon. You've got cedar trees being logged, milled, and kiln-dried right there in the Pacific Northwest.
Next up, you need the core. We all call it pencil lead, right? But it's not lead at all. It's this perfect mix of graphite and clay. And that stuff, that could be mined in a place like Sri Lanka, literally on the other side of the planet.
And what about the eraser? Well, that's a whole other story. Its main ingredient, the rubber, might be coming all the way from Malaysia.
And this is where it gets just mind-boggling. That tiny little metal band that holds the eraser on, that itself is a massive global project. It needs zinc and copper, which have to be mined on at least 2 different continents, just for that one little piece.
So think about it. You have thousands of people involved. Loggers, miners, chemists, the folks in the factory. They all have to work together perfectly to make this one simple pencil. And yet, and this is the crazy part, they never talk to each other. There was no CEO of Pencil, no master planner overseeing it all. So, how? How did this happen? What was doing the coordinating?
Well, the answer, it turns out, is prices, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about them. We're about to see how prices act as a kind of hidden language.
Okay, so this is the key idea we need to wrap our heads around. A price isn't just a number on a tag. Think of it more like a super compressed zip file of information. It takes all this incredibly complex data, what's available, how much people want it, what other options exist, and it squishes it all down into one simple, actionable number. You don't need to know why the number is what it is to act on it.
Let's walk through an example to see how this works in the real world. Imagine a huge drought hits Ethiopia and it wrecks the coffee harvest. Now, you, sitting in Toronto, you have no idea this happened. But you don't need to. The signal you get is that the price of your morning coffee goes up. So what do? Maybe you buy a little less or you switch to tea. At the same time, a farmer over in Vietnam sees that coffee prices are high. That's a signal to her to maybe plant more coffee. See what just happened? The shortage is being solved, coordinated across the entire globe, and nobody had to know about the original drought. The price did all the talking.
The economist F.A. Hayek came up with a brilliant way to think about this. He said, the price system is like the gauges in a factory. An engineer running a machine doesn't need to know every single thing happening in the entire power plant. They just need to watch a few dials. The price is that dial. It gives you just enough information to make the right decision for you. And because everyone is watching their own dial, the whole system works.
Okay, so this sounds like an amazing system, right? But it's not perfect. It's a really powerful tool for sure, but it has some major blind spots we absolutely have to talk about.
You see, this whole thing works best when a price captures all the true costs. But what happens when it doesn't? For example, the price of steel doesn't include the cost of the pollution a factory might pump into the air. That's what economists call an externality. Or think about buying a used car. The seller knows if it's a piece of junk, but you don't. The price doesn't reflect that hidden information. These are real, serious problems where the price signal is lying, or at least not telling the whole truth. So, if we accept that prices are a form of information, a signal, what happens when we choose to ignore that signal? Or worse, what happens when we try to shut it down completely? Let's talk about feedback. In a market, the feedback is brutally fast and direct. If you make a bad product, people stop buying it, you lose money. The signal is crystal clear. This isn't working. But in a large administrative system, the feedback is, well, it's slow and murky. A government program that isn't working might not get cut. In fact, the failure might be used as an argument for why it needs more funding. The signal gets all twisted and political.
And we have a perfect, painful example of this in recent history, the 1973 gas lines. An oil embargo created a very real shortage of gasoline. And what did the government do? They put price controls in place to keep gas affordable. But in doing that, they basically shot the messenger. They silenced the price signal that would have naturally told people, hey, gas is scarce, maybe drive a little less. So demand stayed sky high while supply was low. And the result? Not cheap gas for everybody. It was chaos, massive shortages, endless lines, and people fighting at the pump. The price controls didn't solve the problem, they created a whole new, much worse one.
And all of this brings us to the real heart of the matter. Because this isn't just some dry economics lesson. This is really about knowledge and who has it.
Think about what it means to override a price. When a planner or a committee says, no, the price of rent shouldn't be that, it should be this, they are making an unbelievable claim. They're essentially saying, I know better than the combined knowledge of millions of people, all the landlords, all the renters, all the builders, making decisions based on their own lives and needs. It's an incredible act of hubris when you think about it.
So look, the point here isn't that markets are perfect or always right. They're not. The point is that we should approach them with a little humility. The question we should be asking isn't, are markets good or bad? The better question is, okay, what is this price trying to tell us? Let's listen to the signal first before we decide we know better. Because that price is communicating something real about the world, even if we don't like what it's saying. And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. Remember the pencil. A price brings together all this scattered knowledge from all over the world. So the question we have to ask ourselves is this: when we decide to override a price, what knowledge are we destroying in the process?